But yeah, so let's just jump into the news. The first bit of news is that FX has ordered Why the Last Man pilot, and Michael Green, a producer, I think he's just a producer for American Gods, and Luke Cage's Ada Mashaka Kroll are set to be the showrunners. Now, for those of you guys who do not know, Why the Last Man is a Vertigo, or it was a Vertigo series back in 2002 when it debuted, written by Brian K. Vaughan with art by Pia Guerra.
I want to say Pia, but
Yeah.
I don't know for sure.
It's one of these shows or one of these books that is definitely on my list of things I want to read.
It was a maxi series,
Yeah.
meaning that it had a beginning, middle, and end. I think it was always treated as they knew where the ending was going to be. They had a plot as to how long roughly it was going to take.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that was like meant to last forever, like a Superman or a Batman book. And it came out pretty much monthly for the first 55 issues, and then the last 5 issues, it went to a bi-monthly format to allow them the time to finish up. But for that 6 years, it told a whole story. The story of it is this guy, Yorick, wakes up one day and finds that he is the last man on Earth. All of the men have I guess died or disappeared. Only women are left. The only other male creature on the planet is his monkey. Ampersand, I think, is the name of the monkey.
Yep.
And he is trying to get to Australia where his girlfriend Beth is. That is the story. As he wakes up, the whole Earth is in chaos, and all he wants to do is get to his girlfriend / fiance. And along the way, the different people that he meets, there's a government agent, Agent 355, who becomes his bodyguard to help him. There's a doctor who's trying to discover the cause of the plague, who's helping him. Things, of course, happen along that way. It's a 60-issue thing, but it makes a really great idea for a TV series. One of the things we talked about last week with Jackie Hearn was the amount of strong female characters, and not strong like physically strong necessarily, but driven characters who have their own identities and have their own agency in Black Panther. And this is a story that has tons of female characters, even though the main character technically is this guy. So there's a lot of room to express a lot of characters and directions with a bunch of actresses, which is exciting. But it's also, I mean, this was a really good book. It was well done. It was Brian K. Vaughan, still pretty early into the Brian K. Vaughan movement of, we hadn't seen him do Saga yet. I don't think we'd seen him do Runaways yet. He had done this and Ex Machina, which was not a superhero book necessarily, but it was a book about a superpowered person who becomes I think the mayor of New York. And after stopping one of the planes from hitting the towers in 9/11. So there's a lot to this.
Yeah. So on my side of things here, with Why the Last Man, I started to read it, but then it was like, okay, new comics came out and I had to put it on the back burner and stuff. New Line had secured the rights, a long time
this
ago.
has been in development hell for a long time, which is interesting because one of the people working on it now is a person who worked on American Gods, which also had gone through development hell for a long time.
Yeah.
And I had a friend on Facebook, when they posted about this today, say, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. And I said, well, maybe this person has that secret sauce that it takes to make this happen because American Gods happened. Perhaps this is that time. But I don't even think it's that so much as that people used to be making content for specific networks and there was only so much. We're seeing such a grab for content now that it feels like this has to happen because there's just so much space to fill.
I mean, it's weird to say because the last movie attempt was back in 2013 with Dan Trachtenberg. the director of 10 Cloverfield Lane, and a man that I might as well just say as well is totally rad. But and then it fell apart. Like I think he was working on helping writing the script, because this is one of those, like I remember him talking about this, on Twitter and stuff, as he's a big fan of Why the Last Man. They talked about it a couple times on TRS back in the in the Totally Rad Show days. And so I mean, I'll put it to you this way. I would love to see Dan Trachtenberg direct, multiple episodes of the TV show if it gets picked up. And I think the big part here is because this is during the Television Critics Association Winter Press event back in January. FX CEO John Landgraf gave this quote here that I'm going to read about why they picked this. And he says, "We feel pretty optimistic, not quite at a final decision point, but we got a script I really like, a draft we really like recently. Michael is available because he's not involved in American Gods anymore." It's sort of like those things, like here, I mean, he's got the people that, he knows there is going to be, is going to deliver good things because they've already delivered good things. Brian K. Vaughan and Pia Guerra are still attached to this. They're going to be, executive producing this. I'm excited for this, because, like I said, I haven't read the comic book. I will probably end up pick up the comic book and read it, later on. But I mean, seeing great content on the TVs, that's all I want.
Yeah. The only things that I'm concerned about are post-apocalyptic world stuff. Those types of shows they were popular. They were more popular for a while. We've had The Walking Dead for a few years. We've had now Fear the Walking Dead. If you go backwards, we had Lost, which Brian K. Vaughan, I think, actually worked on some.
Yep.
We had The Leftovers on HBO recently. There's a new show that just started on ABC this last week with all the people coming back in time from the future, where they were trying to get away from this war that happened. And they show up and they're like, hey, they come floating up in the water, in the ocean. Some girl separated from her mom, so I guess mom didn't make it. And it looks like it's ABC's next Lost, after how many times they've tried after Lost and during Lost to get another Lost. And it just doesn't take off. And a review that I read of the show was, it's pretty good. You shouldn't watch it. because it's hard to dedicate yourself into this type of show. One, because so many of them don't know where they're going before they're done. And so they start out pretty strong, and then it just kind of meanders for several seasons until they get to the end. And that's if they get to the end. Because so many of these other shows, yeah.
Okay.
But so many other shows that ABC has done, like the V revival,
mm-hmm.
and a few other ones, they just don't go anywhere. They just stop. They get to the end of their season or their second season, and then they just stop in the middle, and you're left with a cliffhanger forever. And while this isn't on ABC, there's been plenty of tries of this on NBC and on other stations and stuff. You're looking to dedicate yourself to a show, but you want to know that show has the dedication from the people who are making it. And if not enough people watch it at the beginning, you kind of hope they'll still keep putting it out so that an audience can find it, or it never fucking happens and it just falls apart. And so you feel like I wasted this many hours and this many seasons trying to see this thing to the end, and then they won't give me the end. That's why the crappier content of something like a sitcom is easy for people to watch. A drama is harder for people to watch, but a drama with an outarching story that really you need to get these reveals, they have to happen in such and such time to a big finale. That's a huge thing to try to make work. And I think an HBO can get away with that. Although they've dropped shows before that didn't perform. Maybe FX can get away with that, but it's going to be a big if. The only thing this has going for it is that it has begun and ended in the comics. So as long as people aren't going to watch it and be disappointed that they know the story is going to end a certain way, or be okay with Fox changing it if they wind up doing that, to be something different from what the comics are, to keep people from just rewatching stuff that they've already read in the books. That's going to be the big tough call.
Yeah. I personally think that it's one of those, like, this does show promise, but at the same time, like, because you are right. I mean, because there's even, I think, even on the comic book side with like their post-apocalyptic stuff, I think even like Revival, I think even that has a TV deal, or is like being shopped around to go out TVs and or TV shows and stuff like that. With a drama, I have to have, for me to watch a drama, stick with a drama, it has to hit a point where I'll give you a perfect example. TV show like Revolution. I looked at that premise. Oh, this is a post-apocalyptic world where it's America without power. Like electricity, and we're trying to redo or turn back on the electricity and all that. And some people are not wanting to because they like the new position that they're in. That to me seems like a 1 or 2 season done thing. But then when they get done with season 1 and, oh, hey, we turned on the power. Well, then where do you go from there, jackass? I mean, your whole premise was, oh, we are without power. We're trying to yes, be exactly. So it's Puerto Rico without nasty women. But yeah, so I mean, it's one of those, like, I see why The Last Man, if they rush through the show, like with the premise and stuff, then they could sort of pigeonhole where they're at. But I definitely agree, like, much like the comic, they need to have it set, a plan set out for how long they're going to go. Like, is this a 3-season show, a 4-season show? Are we going to do 10 seasons and, in the middle 4 are just going to suck?
It was a 60-issue series. So if you break that down, 12 issues could equal a season, and that's 5 seasons. That would be pretty good. And certainly I think going for brevity, and 12 issues equaling a season doesn't necessarily mean 12 hours. It could be 8 episodes a season to 10 episodes a season if they need to stretch it out a little bit. But the succinct seasons, which is something that I think FX does usually anyways, makes it a little more palatable. It keeps the costs down because you're not paying to produce a 22 episode season, and you get the people who are excited for it, get into it, watch it, and don't burn out halfway point.
Yeah.
It's you have to get them back for season 2, season 3, season 4. And if all this stuff is in the comics that we already have a blueprint, the comic never really sucked.
Mm-hmm.
It had fans that stuck around with it the whole way through. It was a long time to dedicate themselves to reading it. So some people went to reading it in the trades instead of buying the single issues, but it's still, it got to its ending point, which is still a big deal for a comic series. Even then, I think it's going to really depend on who the lead actor is.
Yeah. So
because that guy has to be charming as shit.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I'll put it to you this way: another post-apocalyptic comic book turned into TV show, The Walking Dead. Right now with where they're at, that's another show I've sort of not really given up on, but I haven't watched since their mid-season break. So I didn't see them kill Carl and, oh, is Carl still alive? And Carl, and all that stuff. But with where they're at in relation to the comic books, and I know we're going to get people going, well, they're not the same. They use the comic book as the guideline. Otherwise, you end up with Fear the Walking Dead. And I didn't make it past the pilot. And I'm a big Walking Dead fan. I love the comic. I still read the comic book and all that. I've only taken a break because, with the TV show, because it's just like there's so much going on at once. So much TV and, other life stuff that is going on at once. But with where they're at, comparing it to the comic book, they're not that far from reaching a Game of Thrones moment where they're going to surpass what is going on in the comic books. In all honesty, they are 2 years behind the comic book. So what, 24 issues?
Yeah, but the comic book doesn't have seasonal breaks. and they can always stretch something out more in the series to make it take longer as the comic moves forward. But you're hitting on something, which is the comic book is now in the 140 issues range, 150.
Almost 150. Yeah.
Yeah, 150. So not succinct. So that's part of why the series feels like it's run way too long for me. Why I dropped out a couple seasons ago. And still don't feel like we're seeing any kind of leading to an ending point. The last that I looked, it's just the continuing story of Rick not knowing if he's a good guy or a bad guy this week.
Yeah.
And who's the new governor.
Yeah.
So I completely lost interest in that, and that's part of the issue is too many issues. 150 comic issues so far. The comic's not in any danger of ending soon, or at least it's not been announced that it's ending soon. And so the TV series is also announced as ending soon. It's just how long can this shit go on?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I remember hearing Kirkman say he has an endpoint and he has an ending idea in mind. I think it's just we are working our way to getting towards there. But again, I mean, no one's going to really know unless it's actually the only people who are going to know are Robert Kirkman and Charlie Adler. Because they're the writer and artists, co-creators of this comic book. The next bit of news is, Corey, have you ever heard of this Carl Urban actor? You might have last seen him playing I was gonna make the joke of from Thor Ragnarok. He played I can't think of the name of the character.
I can't think of the name of the character either. It's strange. It didn't matter. He was cool. He was great.
Yeah, he was cool. I loved him in it, but God, what was the name?
Also from the Star Trek movies, he's been playing Bones.
Yes.
One of my favorite things that he's done was that Almost Human TV series that Fox fucking killed. And as Beats pointing out, another great one was Dread. Carl Urban's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I have yet to see him in something where he isn't awesome.
Thank you, Pete.
He is really, really great. And so Carl Urban is signed on to star in the Amazon superhero drama series The Boys, based off of the comic book by Garth Ennis, who people might know his other property, Preacher, that is out on AMC right now. And Derek Robertson, co-creator of The Boys, longtime comic artist, really great guy, actually. And this is exciting because we've been seeing announcements of people who are going to be in The Boys. We know that Jack Quaid, who is from the Hunger Games movies, is playing Huey. We know that Karen Fukuhara is playing the female. Karen was she played Katana in Suicide Squad. So we've heard way too much dialogue from her already. She's going to be playing a moody, quiet character in this too. I think she might be getting typecast. Erin Moriarty is playing Annie January, who is a young superheroine who joins up with the premier superhero team and then finds out that they're all horrible people. The Boys is basically this group led by Urban's character, the Butcher, Billy Butcher. Billy Butcher leads The Boys, and they recruit Huey to be a part of them. And they keep the superheroes in check. They will go and beat the shit out of them if they get out of line. That is kind of the crux of what the comic is about.
Yeah.
And this is another long-running series. It started out in Wildstorm Comics and then went over to Dynamite after its first 6 issue because Wildstorm dissipated, and was 72 issues. Came out monthly, did have a couple of spin-off series that happened, but for the most part, very much self-contained, beginning, middle, end, that kind of thing that you want to see. Another maxi series, and terrific stuff. Absolutely over the top, kind of out of line shit that you expect if you've watched Preacher. If you've read anything by Garth Ennis, his stuff is just always going to offend somebody or everybody. And that's kind of the fun thing about it. I could not be more excited to see Urban's name pop up with this.
No, yeah. I mean, it's because again, I'm coming at this more from the opposite side, from the I haven't read The Boys. Garth Ennis, I get, I have to sort of pick the books from him. Like I respect the work that he has done, but at the same time, it's not, like, oh my gosh, the new, Garth Ennis book is out. I gotta go get it. Because it's always like the last one I think I read was or tried to get into was Six Pack and Dog Wielder Hard Traveling Heroes, and I'm like,
which is a spin-off essentially of his Hitman series.
yeah.
So that's a weird one to me to try to get into, because it was a modern continuation of a character that was from 15, 20 years ago that was already a weird character and spun out from something that was much more popular. And that book doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Although Hitman is a great book to read because Ennis and McRae were very solid on that.
Yeah, but like I remember because getting into that book because they were in something else, just before that, the Dog Wielder and
Six Pack.
Yes, Six Pack and Dog Wielder were in something else at the same time. I think it was in All-Star Sectional or All-Star Section 8.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. Which I feel like an asshole now because the artist on there, John McCrae, 2 weeks ago was in my comic book shop. And
really?
And I was like, I feel like I should know who this guy is. But I'm sitting there looking, dude's cool. Like the dude is cool. And like there was some other people there who were, got some stuff signed, and I'm just like, the name sounds familiar. Who? And I was about to be like, Corey, who is John McCrae? But yeah, that's
I would have told you that he did My Little Pony comics.
well, they had all the Mars Attacks stuff. So I'm like, okay, he must have done Mars Attacks because just like all the stuff right there.
He probably came from doing stuff like that too.
Yeah,
because it's weird. It's out of bounds. It's good stuff. Anyways, so this show is being showrun by Supernatural creator Eric Kripke. Sure. And Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, who both work on Preacher, are going to directing the
Wait,
I guess
you mean
at least the premiere.
So wouldn't this be technically a Netflix thing because Netflix bought the rights to Seth Rogen?
Not if the rights were already sold to Amazon.
you are going out with that, right?
Yeah, I know. Here's the problem. If you're a Hollywood whore, you get around a little bit. Rogan, everybody's had them. Everybody's been in them. It smells a little bit like, I don't know.
Like
I was going to say something. No, I was actually, I was going to say like a Franco, but still.
But yeah, I mean, it's got people who's worked on like everything. So you've got Neil H. Moritz from Prison Break, all on the production side. Ori Marmur from Preacher, Pavun Shetty from New Girl, and James Weaver of Rogan and Goldberg's Point Grey Pictures. Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson are also on board as co-executive producers. And I mean, so it's like, yeah, you've got like, looking at the producers there, you got producers of drama, drama with some comedy, sitcom comedy, single cam sitcom comedy with New Girl, and then Rogan and Goldberg, who run the gambit of everything.
And the other nice thing is that Urban, it says here in the article, it reminds us that he also played Yomer in the second and third Lord of the Rings pictures, which is perfect because Amazon's doing some bullshit with Lord of the Rings. So he's right there.
All the money in the world.
If they want to repeat everything in even more of a way, they can, because that's what they're gonna do. We just need to see the Lord of the Rings done again already.
Yeah,
and make it longer. Yes, please extend it even longer. Pricks. Yeah. But anyway, this is fun. I'm excited for this.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The next bit of news is that Del Toro signs an overall deal with Fox Searchlight. Now, let's do something before we get into this article. Let's not mention the mouse. Let's not mention that possible deal.
The fact that he signed a deal with a company that might not be its own company?
Yes,
Sure.
exactly. Let's look at this for what it is, because Fox Searchlight, for those of you guys who do not know, is typically the indie movies banner for Fox.
No, indie movies are owned by that company that you said that we can't mention.
True, but so whenever you look at, like, I'm trying to think how to explain this, because Fox Searchlight Pictures are the lower budget movies, or the movies that wouldn't necessarily fit underneath the Fox, the proper Fox banner. And and as Beat is pointing out, Fox Searchlight put out the Oscar winning winner, Shape of Water. They also have done, I think, all of Wes Anderson's stuff, including the new one, Isle of Dogs, which looks amazing as a side note. But yeah, this overall deal with Guillermo del Toro is actually really interesting, because he's been all over the place, because I believe Hellboy was with Universal, I think, or no, I think it was New Line. I think it was New Line, and then you had the first Pacific Rim that he directed, that was with Legendary, and so he's been all over. And so, I mean, to have to now have him, boom.
It was Columbia.
Oh, Columbia, yeah. And Beat is giving a link to the movies that Fox Searchlight has out there in theaters right now. You got Three Billboards, Shape of Water, and Isle of Dogs. Coming soon, you have Super Troopers 2, and some others, and then there's a whole bunch of available to own. But yeah, they're typically movies that you can consider, for looking at what Fox Searchlight does, movies that are Oscar bait and or independent movies. Like these small budget movies that they wouldn't really lose a lot of money on.
Well, one of the things that I was going to point out is, with Guillermo del Toro, he's not really someone who works on remakes of stuff. He has done adaptations of comics to film. He was working famously on the Justice League Dark movie, but has moved away from it. He at one point was going to be working on The Hobbit and stepped away from it, so Peter Jackson came back on board for it. But for the most part, everything he's done has been original stuff. And certainly with the success of The Shape of Water, it seems like this is the kind of deal that's going to allow him to keep doing original stuff, as opposed to, oh yeah, now we want you to come and do this other thing for us. And, like, please do Suicide Squad 3 with more Joker and more everything else that's also Joker.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for this, for a creator who has a very distinct vision and can express himself well in film and story. I haven't seen The Shape of Water yet. I'm very interested in it. I know that it's not for everybody, even as an Oscar-winning film. I know a lot of people just like, oh, the Sex with the Fish movie. It's like, sure, but I think this is probably a good matchup, and he's got a good working relationship with them, and they want to keep him happy and keep him around. It's smart. It's a good move.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're honestly onto it right there with all that. Oh God, this doesn't show the production companies. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out, like all the, where he's done stuff and all that. But I mean, you're right, and I really do like that as an idea. And he directed Blade 2.
Yeah,
which I got to say, I love Blade 2. I mean, that was, for being what it was at the time, that's a great movie.
In my opinion, it's the best of the Blade movies.
Yeah.
It also has Ron Perlman in it, which is part of the reason why I think that their relationship works so well.
Yeah. You're completely right with the whole, why they're doing this, because we're getting that now with an article we're going to talk about later. Like, everyone's trying to lock down these creators, also like how Netflix made the joke for April Fools where they acquired Seth Rogen. We're not that far off from this, from the, all right, no, Guillermo, come here, Guillermo. You're going to live here in our Fox Searchlight house, and we're going to do all these things to explore your mind, to get you these ideas for movies that we could possibly do and all that. But it's like I can't complain for him doing this.
Imagine you're a storyteller or an artist or just a creative in general. Mm-hmm. And you wake up every day, and for years it's like, I'm going to get up, I'm going to put my time into making my art, I'm going to hope to find an audience, I'm going to hope to be able to pay for my home and for my family's food and these things. And every day you get up and you struggle, and you work other jobs to support them as well. When you hit the lean times, you do things to try to prove yourself as an artist by working on other people's stuff that they request of you, but it's never the fulfilling thing that you want it to be. And then somebody finally says, I believe in you.
Yeah.
And, we're going to bankroll you so every day you can wake up and make your art and not have to worry about paying these bills and making a living and all this other stuff. This is now your living. That's a wonderful thing for a creator to have happen to them. And that's what we want to see for someone who's as much of a visionary as Guillermo. As this guy is. I just cannot talk.
Yeah.
I'm trying to read his name as I'm saying it, and it just all those letters. It's too much.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. I mean, and trust me, I get it. But yeah, and as Beat has been posting, as we've been talking, he's been posting all these really great movies, and not even hitting the top of the list of like movies that I've loved. Like, it's one of these things, like, I'm realizing now that a lot of the movies that I've loved as a kid, as I'd say probably from 11 to 20, actually probably 25. No, till now. I'll go to now. Have been Fox Searchlight movies. Like Juno. I love Juno. Napoleon Dynamite. That was big. I love Napoleon Dynamite along with like everyone else. 1 Hour Photo, highly underrated Robin Williams movie. The Ringer. I liked it at the time, but now it's like it's Johnny Knoxville.
What's wrong with Johnny Knoxville? I like Johnny Knoxville fine. I don't like all his stuff, but I got nothing against the guy.
Yeah. I mean, this is a brilliant move on Fox Searchlight's thing. Now, we should probably also mention the mouse in the room, because this could end up working out brilliantly for Disney if the deal goes through. If this deal goes through and they acquire Fox, because Fox Searchlight is underneath the what they would acquire. So, but I would also think it would be under Disney's better interest to not mess with Fox Searchlight.
The question of the deal is, if they acquire Fox, do all the deals that Fox have stay in motion? Do any kind of reconsiderations, renegotiations come up or not? I expect the reason Disney wants to buy them is to get these contracts for these things that are coming out and keep going with them. But that every company goes through a point of like, hey, we really like this project you're working on, except not anymore. So it's gonna stop, and you go find a new job. You go find a new job now.
Yeah.
It obviously it's happened to Disney on projects as big as Star Wars films, but it happens everywhere. And so certainly things can break down. I don't think that that's what they're going in trying to do. While we make a big deal over the acquirement of the properties that they no longer own, or the rights to make films of, like X-Men and Fantastic Four and stuff, realistically, they want Fox for a lot of reasons. And I'm sure that this will be something that they get their hands on and go, wow, we've got a contract with Guillermo, and he's going to keep making the kinds of movies that he already makes that are all fantastic. Yeah, let's keep doing that. And if he wants to work on any of our projects at the same time, when he's already established a relationship with us, let's see what we can do. What would a Dagobah set movie be like with Guillermo doing it in Star Wars land? Or what would he do as far as monster creation for the Star Wars package overall? Like, This is a guy who's really let his imagination just bleed out on screen, and it's always just beautiful. So yeah, there's a lot of potential there. Yes, and if they get the rights to Hellboy, I don't know how that works, but still.
Yeah. So the final bit of news before we get on to the rest of the show is that the CW has renewed 10 series, including Arrow, Flash, Supernatural, and Riverdale. Now, one of them that's on this list that I just have to go, the fuck, is Dynasty. I've not watched an episode of Dynasty, so this is me judging without seeing a single thing. But the previews, all like every episode preview I see reminds me of Melrose Place, the Melrose Place reboot, and the 90210 reboot, both of which sucked.
Well, yeah, and the Dynasty did not do well at the beginning of the season, but I guess their numbers picked up when they added Nicole Sheridan.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was specifically her, but her coming in seemed to improve things. Nicolette Sheridan was from the show on ABC a few years ago, Desperate Housewives, and other stuff before that. I'm surprised too, but I hadn't been paying attention to the numbers. And again, like most of the CW content, not for me. Yeah, not really grabbing my interest as it is. But if it picked up, good. Then it picked up. That means that they feel like the audience showed up for it, that they wanted. It's got to be better than some of the others that they've been going with, like Life Sentence.
Well, okay. So the other shows that have been renewed: Arrow, The Flash, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, Black Lightning, Supernatural, Riverdale, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and Jane the Virgin. I'll make up the list, which this means that 80% of their new season is already locked in, and this is including them adding 2 hours of programming on Sundays.
Yep. And I just want to say, while I have not kept up with the show for reasons like you were talking about earlier, super happy that they renewed Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Yes,
because that is the little show that should, not just could, but like people should be paying attention to it. I should be paying more attention to it.
Oh no, definitely,
because it is so well done, and it's exciting to see that they're keeping that going.
Yeah, the only ones that are on the bubble, to use terms from back when we did starts and stops, are the shows iZombie, The 100, and Life Sentence. And then you, as well as the person who wrote this Bleeding Cool article, which, let me go up here and check. Did you write this article? Oh, is your name Dan Wickline? Because he shares the same thing of, I wouldn't hold my breath, or I wouldn't bet on Life Sentence. But at the same time, I'm like, I like Life Sentence. It's this cute little show.
Right, but it's not getting viewers.
I know, and I'm probably not the demographic for it, but I mean, it's, I don't know. I like the idea. And I like how they're executing it. And it would be a shame if they, if it does get canceled. Start watching Life Sentence, damn it. That's basically what I'm saying. But no, yeah. So I mean, and I actually have to check. I want to check on Supernatural, because I think Supernatural might still be the one show to be from the
WB,
the WB days.
I believe so. It is certainly the longest running show of the CW network, going into its 14th season, and still supposed to be getting a spinoff next season with Wayward Sisters.
Yeah, it came in on the WB for the first season of it. It was, so it was in the endings of the WB, and then it came over to...
Yeah, because I think Jared came from Smallville into this.
He played who did he play? He played Lana, or no, not Jared Padalecki, Jensen Ackles.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah, he played
White Guy Jock.
It was something close to that, Smallville. Jason Teague.
Right.
He played the love interest for Lana.
Nobody should ever forget Jason Teague from Smallville. The character is so popular he wasn't in the comics.
He was a love interest for for Lana, and I
He
remember,
wasn't Lana's love interest. He was Clark's barrier. That's all he was. He was just something to be the obstacle in Clark's way for that first season, until it's like,
no, it wasn't first season. It wasn't first season. It was later on, because the first season was some douchey McDouchebag.
I believe they were all douchey McDouchebag.
Yeah, but Jason Teague came in in season 4.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, because it was some other little, hey, I'm a jock and I'm going off to the military here in season 1, and yeah. Sorry, I watched a while back ago the season finale of season 1 just to get into season 2 of Smallville. But yeah, no. So Supernatural, it's 14th season, which are like, oh, it's for its record 14th season, which yeah, it's it's so long that it's lasted longer than the network itself.
Yep.
But Arrow's returning for its 7th. Flash and Jane the Virgin will be on their 5th. Legends, Supergirl, and Crazy Ex-Girlfriend are back for a 4th season, 4th time. And then Black Lightning and Dynasty will both be getting a 2nd season. So honestly, with this whole list, I'm excited for it. I still enjoy all the shows that are there for what they do. The only one I've sort of, I don't want to say given up on, but I probably will catch, bits and pieces of, would be Arrow. All the other shows, all the other, the DCW shows, as Tom Merritt coined for us, when he was on, I have I have hopes for it. It's when they get dark where I'm like, and I gotta bow out. I don't want to do the dark and gritty all day. So I'm excited for this. If anything else, it just means my summer is going to be busy catching up on these shows through Netflix, like I need to do for Crazy Ex-Girlfriend and Jane the Virgin. And I seriously hope that Life Sentence gets picked up for a 2nd season, just because I feel like there's more story that they can tell there.
Well, I imagine that it will if it suddenly becomes about a post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that is going to do it here for us, or for the news, and we will be right back.
For more on this Galactic Network podcast, go to gncast.com. That's GNCASTS.com.